Hello, we are live and we are live. Hello, good morning. Just holding on while some people join us. It's your first time joining us. Good morning, you're welcome. Hey, Ken. Good morning. For you joining for the first time, I just have some music playing in the background until I kind of get some people online and we get going. Morning, Monica. You guys are so early, it's so cool. This morning we are talking about stress and understanding our stress responses. Some very interesting stuff, lots of learning. Okay, we can stop listening to Lizzo for a bit. Let me just close that. Hello, Facebook. Okay, let us get going. I'll start with my intro in the meantime. I'm sure we're waiting for some more people. So, morning. If it is your first time watching a video of mine or first time joining our live session, my name is Amy Isaacs. I'm an occupational therapist. And in the past few months, welcome to Self Care Studio. In the past few months, I have been doing online life skills, workshops, and stress and relaxation technique classes in response to COVID-19 and just looking after our mental health and our physical health. Actually, we're getting some physical stuff today, just looking after ourselves during this period. This is a second session in a series of self-care for now, self-care for during COVID, and what we really need to be looking or doing to look after ourselves. And in this session, or before I go there, let me add that this is not therapy. These sessions are educational classes and are not considered therapy. If you do need some assistance, you're welcome to inbox me and I can try to guide you to a therapist who might be able to assist you. I can also guide you to some organizations that are offering counseling at the moment, whether it be free counseling or if you just need some support in other areas. Definitely able to help you and assist you in that space. So this morning we are talking about stress, and I'm actually really just going to jump into it because it's such a broad topic, and I really just want us to get going. Hello, Neen, welcome, morning. There's also some people on Facebook. Good morning, thank you for joining us. I know my I'm pretty dark on Facebook this morning, like my lighting isn't great. I'll figure it out, I'll sort it out. But let's get going. Let's get talking about what is stress. And in my research of stress, I found a quote by Heinz Sale, who is considered the father of stress research. And his definition of stress was that stress refers to the reaction and adaptation of any organism to a perceived threat. At the cellular level, stress is fundamental to life because it motivates action and behavior. I want to talk about the space of perceived threat because it is so important in understanding how our bodies respond to stress at the moment. A perceived threat is anything where your body feels or your brain feels that something's not okay, something's going to happen. Anything in terms of sort of negative spaces, like a perceived threat. And what recent research has showed us is that the stress of, or the perception of a stress of, let's use an example of being in a car accident and driving and seeing a car sort of come towards you. You can imagine that stress would be quite heightened. Immediately your responses would go into stress response. But what recent research has showed us is that our brains actually do not tell the difference between that kind of stress or that kind of threat, perceived threat, or the threat of having a really big deadline. Your brain's response to stress, whether it be a physical stress or something that you are worried about, is exactly the same. The same hormones are released, and I'm going to be talking about this in a bit. The same hormones are released, the same. You'll feel the same response, and it's so interesting to understand that because it teaches us such a lot about how we respond in stressful situations and how our bodies work. So remember that as we move forward, that stress, it refers to the reaction and adaptation to a perceived threat. Whether or not that threat is still there, also consistently releases cortisol and your stress hormone. I'm jumping the gun. Let me carry on my script. I must actually learn to stick to my scripts. Right. So what we're going to be talking about in this session is we've now gone to what is stress. And stress actually has 5 stages, which is quite interesting. So I want to talk to you about today what is called the stress cycle. And I'm going to take you through why we get stressed, how we close the stress cycle, and what happens when we don't. Because at the moment, we are not closing the stress cycle. We are not recovering. Let me go through the stages because it's quite interesting. So our first stage, or the 5 stages of stress, are alarm, resistance, possible recovery, adaptation, and burnout. We may or may not go through all of those in a sequence. You could skip stages. You could find that you go straight from, if you're not closing in the recovery cycle, if you're not closing the stress cycle, and I'll explain how we do that. If you're not closing the stress cycle, it's just going to be a continuous space until you get to burnout. So it's not really a linear space. It is, we move from stage to stage, but depending on your circumstances and your situation, you could move from one stage to the next faster than somebody else. I'm going to break down each stage just. Now, the first stage is alarm. Something's happening, there's a perceived threat. And this is our flight, fight, or freeze response that our brain sends off. So the moment you first feel stressed, your body lets you know. It sends an alarm, and an activity in your thyroid and your adrenal glands is increased. And it tells you to release stress hormones, which is cortisol and adrenaline. And if you think about it, what happens in your body when you see a perceived threat? I don't want to freak out with giving you like unbelievably perceived threats. Let's think about some smaller ones. Let's say, for example, you on a plane. There's a lot of perceived threat when you're on a plane. There's a lot of anxiety and stress attached to it. What happens? Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, there's a decrease in short-term memory, and there's a feeling of stress, fear, anxiety, and often depression as well, depending on what is the perceived threat. We could also flip this in the alarm stage, in that your mental focus tends to increase. It doesn't do it for long, but initially your mental focus increases. And if you consider this in a COVID space, then let's go back to the beginning of lockdown stages. You could have found that your mental focus increased. You could have found that now that you're immediately working from home, your mental focus increased. But that doesn't continue. It doesn't continue for long. So we need to actually be very aware of our mental state. Sorry, give me a second to just realign myself. Okay, so let's consider what happens in alarm space. And let's also, I want you to consider what's happening in your body and think about it in relation to you. When does this happen to you? Stress hormones mean that we get cooler skin, and it cools off our skin. So our blood flow will go more to our bigger muscles. Our alarm stages are meant to, they go back as far as our ancestors, and when humans needed to respond to immediate threats of physical danger, like running away from a lion or any other predator. And what would you need when you needed to run away from a predator? Just consider it for a bit. So you'd need your arms and your legs to work better. So your body sends more blood flow to your bigger muscle groups so that you can actually move and get out of the way of the perceived threat. It will send more light, it will dilate your pupils so that there's more light in your eyes so you can see clearer. It will increase the amount of sweating so that you can cool off your body. So again, you can move faster and you can respond faster. You might feel that you have a dry mouth. As the blood flow is decreased from your digestive system, because your body is actually going to stop certain things happening in your body. It's going to stop your digestive system. You might find that there's less saliva in your mouth, so you might have dry mouth quite regularly. And this is our body's way of refocusing on situation survival rather than digesting a meal. Our bodies and our brains are designed for survival. You might find that all of these things could happen at a space of immediate threat. The challenge, though, is that with stress and with continuous stress, even when this threat it goes away, we're still feeling this stage of stress. So as humans in the space of COVID at the moment, what we could be feeling is a consistent space of all of this. So you could be then be feeling that you've got a lot of aches and pains in your muscles. There's been a lot of times when maybe a lot of blood flow has gone to your muscles, but you haven't used those muscles, and we're not moving a lot at the moment. If you're still in a space of lockdown and working from home, you might find that you've got a lot of aches and pains in your body, your joints, your muscles, because you're not moving it as often as you need to. You might find that your eyes are pretty dry because your pupils are consistently being dilated, but also we're spending a lot more time on screens. So your eyes might be a little drier as the months have gone on. Your eyes might feel a little weaker and tired as well. Again, we've been spending a lot of time on screens at the moment. I'm going to move on to this is remember we were speaking about the alarm stage, right? And again, in my thinking of this, it took me back to what would you need if you needed to run away from a predator? And your body gives you all of those responses when it comes to a perceived threat. I'm going to move on to stage 2, resistance. Whatever your initial response to stress may be, whether it be sweating, the dry mouth, any of those things, your body is more likely to have a greater capacity to cope with the situation that is causing a stress reaction once you move into this resistance stage. This stage indicates that your body is trying to return to its natural state by releasing anti-inflammatory hormones to calm and ease negative effects of stress. However, like I said earlier, if the stress continues and you do not take the time to recover, you may find yourself entering the last 2 stages, which is adaptation and burnout. We'll get there. But let's talk about the space of resistance and this stage for a moment. Again, we said the stage indicates that your body is trying to return to its natural state. Again, I'm going to go back to you're running away from a predator. So if you were running away from a predator and you then found a safe space and you're okay, well, your body would actually need to start returning back to its normal state. So it's going to then continue to do the opposite. So the anti-inflammatory responses are going to try and calm our system down. We're going to try and get back to normal breathing. We're going to try and get back to normal blood flow. However, when there is a persistent stress and a consistent stress, which is what we're currently experiencing, your body doesn't have the chance to really provide these resistance spaces. I'm going to go straight into recovery because I think this is really the 3rd stage and the stage that most of us need to be getting into the moment. This is the most important stage of the stress cycle, and it's in a space we need to close that cycle, and this is recovery. And it is integral, it's important to bouncing back from a stressful period, being able to return to a state of balance and being your most well self. You might be feeling at this stage in the 2nd lockdown that it's really difficult to get back to this space. Our bodies have been going through this persistent space of stress continuously. So the immediate thing of alarm, which I spoke about first, we've been doing that over and over and over. And if we're not looking at recovery and coping, then we're going to be keep on staying in that resistance space and the next 2 stages I talk about. Let's go back to if you were running away from a predator. Let's think about recovery like this. You were running away from a predator and suddenly you got back to whether it was a cave or where our ancestors lived in. What would you need? What would your body need? And let's think about it. If you ran a marathon, what would your body need? Rest. You need to actually make time for rest and for your muscles to recover, for your body to recover, for your brain activity to recover. Many of us don't find time, or we don't put things in place to get to the stage of coping and recovery. And it's the stage that we need to put the most energy into at the moment, because if we do not, we get to stage 4, which is adaptation, which is what happens when you don't take time to recover. So after experiencing stress, you can make a choice to take the time to step back and recover, if possible, or adapt to the environment that you've just experienced, which is what most of us are doing at the moment. We adapt to stressful environments as a result of just going through thinking of when unable to improve the situation. So we're just going to go with it. Or in the case of COVID at the moment, there's situations that we can't just move past and sort of go, it's fine, we'll get over it. This is what it is. It actually is what it is, and we have to find ways to recover in this space. If you do adapt, your body will be in a constant state of stress. which can have long-term negative effects. And this is what you could be experiencing at the moment: lower energy levels, low self-esteem, difficulty sleeping, an unhealthy change in weight. An unhealthy change in weight, when we look at it from a mental health perspective, is that we play in the space of 5 to 10 kilos within a 3 to 4 month space of have you gained or have you lost that big amount of weight in such a short space of time without actioning it. So if you're not on a diet, if you're not actively trying to lose weight, but you notice a change in your weight, such a big change in your weight in such a small space of time, this is a stress response. It's a matter of we're not looking after ourselves. You could also have difficulty managing your emotions. And consider this not for yourself, but also for your household at the moment. Everybody could seem a little bit on edge, irritable, quick to get angry. And this is because we're not managing our stress and our emotions. I also want to tell you that the same happens for your children. And to consider, as I'm going to talk about how we can help this and how we can adapt our spaces and fix this. But I also really want you to keep your children in mind, because just because they're little humans doesn't mean they don't go through all of this. And we kind of need to create a space where we can help them process these emotions at the moment. If we do not do any of this, and if we do not try and get into the recovery phase, and if we stay in stage 4 of adaptation and just let ourselves live under the space of stress, without actively working on it, we will get to a stage of burnout. Now, burnout happens after you've been triggered into a stressful situation, and if you haven't taken time to recover, and whether it be due to circumstances or time frames, if you are unable to allow adequate recovery, you may unknowingly put yourself in a state of burnout. And burnout happens when we've just consistently been living in a stressful state without any space for recovery. We're not resting, we're not looking after ourselves, we're not taking breaks. These things are important. So now that I've taken you through the 5 stages of burnout, or the 5 stages of stress, I want to take you back to what is important to take away from this. What's important to take away from this is that if we do not get our bodies into the recovery phase of managing our stress, the things in the adaptation phase, or phase 4, will continue. We will have long-term effects of stress, and that, remember, our lower energy levels, low self-esteem, difficulty sleeping, and I'm sure many of us are experiencing it at the moment. Many people struggling to fall asleep, or insomnia has become quite a big issue at the moment. Other long-term effects could be poor concentration, lack of poor memory, actually not lack, a poor memory at this stage. I don't know about the rest of you, but my memory is really struggling with things. And so is my concentration levels at the moment. So you might actually really struggle with this. You might have a space of what is called brain fog. It feels like fog. Everything just feels a little bit different, and you can't really concentrate or find a clear path to the solutions that you're looking for. Completely normal in this phase. And the good news is that we can actually work with ourselves and within the spaces that we currently are to get better at this, or to improve the situation. I've spoken about burnout. I want to talk about tips now to manage your stress. And the first tip I want to talk about is our environment and adapting our environment. As an OT, we love talking about environments and adapting environments, and we do it quite quickly for our clients. And we do this from the space of, if you've had a change in your body and you now need to relearn how to use different parts of your body, which is very possible. You could have been in an accident, you could have had a stroke. We need to change, and we need to teach you how to adapt to it. One of the first things we do is adapt your environment, because if we can't change things within you, we can change things within your environment. And they're often very closely connected. And when I talk about your environment, I'm talking about a couple of things. So firstly, let's talk about your space. Is it possible for you to make changes in your space? And I want you to consider, what are the things that cause you to feel stress in your space? Is it a matter of you need to declutter? Is it a matter of you need to move things around so that you actually have better access? If you're looking at stress in terms of just your work environment and your workspace, what frustrates you? And how can you problem solve that? Is it a matter of, I don't have everything I need when I work, so I'm always moving around, and those are small things of stress throughout your day that's actually not really necessary. If it's a matter of you can control that space, Set it up so that you actually have everything you need. Same goes for kids. Everything they need while they're doing homeschooling, and they don't have to come ask you, I need this and I need this and I need this. Set it up, set up the environment for a successful space. Might not be easy to do immediately, but that doesn't mean you can't make small changes to it. Other things in your environment that you need to consider that actually damage your or limit your space in terms of managing your stress is the lighting in your environment. What's the lighting like when you're looking at your computer? Are you hurting your eyes? Are you taking some time off from looking at a screen all the time? In terms of managing screen fatigue, what we should be doing is every 10 to 20 minutes, look at something that is more than 2 meters far away from you and something that's in the distance. We actually just need to give our eye muscles a little bit of a break. Limiting our screen time is also really great for this. I know it's very hard at the moment because we're working and a lot of our leisure things are on screens. But if you could give yourself just 20 to 30 minutes of no screen time during the day, it would actually be really helpful for both your eyes and your body. Give your brain a break also. When I talk about environment, I'm also talking about people and relationships. This one's a little bit tougher because if you think about it, we've all been stuck together in our spaces for a prolonged period of time. And we're humans, we need other people, we need interaction with people, we need conversations with people. If you're alone during lockdown, I want to encourage you to reach out to people, have conversations with people, whether it be a WhatsApp message or a phone call, or engaging on something simple, like just reach out to people because we actually really need each other. If you are living with others and you have noticed that people get a lot more irritable lately and a lot more angry or frustrated with spaces, maybe it's time to have a conversation within your family. Many of us grew up in situations or in family spaces where we did not speak about our emotions. We did not speak about when we are angry, when we are frustrated. We just grew up in this space where we didn't speak about it. And actually, it is so detrimental to our relationships because we all walking around each other being annoyed and not saying anything. It doesn't help us. It really doesn't. And maybe you need to create an environment or a space within your family, children included, because they are just as likely to be irritable and frustrated. A space where everybody's allowed to say what they get frustrated about. Everybody is allowed to say, I'm really tired that you keep leaving that cup there because I always need to wash it up. That's a simple thing somebody could fix. Okay, I'll wash up my cup after. That's a really simple example. But I'm very aware at the moment of many family households that are having really difficult times and really difficult arguments that could have been prevented by having conversations. Maybe also then what you need to do is be open and honest with your family and your partners and say, today I'm having a really stressful day and I've got a couple of meetings lined up that I am really anxious about. So I might be a little bit more irritable. Please don't take it personally. It is so important to tell people in your life when you are frustrated and angry that they don't take it personally, because it is our space as humans to immediately go that I am the problem. It is the space as humans. It's our space as humans to go that our partner is frustrated, it must be me. It is not necessarily you. And it's so important to share these spaces with the people we live with. It's a great opportunity at the moment. It could really build the foundation of your families and relationships. If you have a difficult space of family and relationships, you might need more support through that. And that's a possibility. You could reach out to family therapists or counselors, etc. Have a Zoom session where somebody is allowed to be in it with them in your home and mediate what is happening within your family space. But it's really important to talk about it and create a safe space. At the same time, when you are creating a safe space, what you're also doing is telling people that you are a safe space. You're telling your children they can tell you when they are angry or frustrated or bored or they miss their friends. It's so relevant. Children also need that social interaction. And yes, while they're around you, it's great, and families are great, etc. But we are different people when we are around people our own age. We are different people when we are around peers. And children need that space where they can be different around their peers and not just around you. So create a space where you allow your children or the people in your family to tell you what is upsetting them at the moment, what's difficult, like family meetings with the right intention. Yes, my service is family meetings with the right intention. You start with the family meeting with them. We're having this meeting because we've all been in lockdown for quite a while, and it is possible that we are a bit frustrated, not necessarily with each other, but with the situation, and it is most likely that we are going to take this frustration out on each other. So the family meeting space right now is to talk about how can we be kinder to each other, and how can we help each other through the rest of this time space. I know it's not that easy in a lot of families. I'm not trying to give you this perfect situation, but it is, if it's possible, try it, open up the conversation, and then also allow your kids to understand and have the conversation of sometimes as adults we get frustrated with each other and we might take that out on each other, but it doesn't mean we don't respect each other. It just means that we need to find a way to resolve that frustration. It's important for kids to learn to, or to grow up learning these things. Another thing to manage your stress when we are looking at the environment is your daily routine. We all work differently and we all need different things. Some people work best late at night. Some people work best early morning, and some people work best in the middle of the day. If it is possible for you to change your routine so that it fits into a time frame that is best for you, I encourage you to do that. As an example, I have moved my work days earlier because I find it's easier for me to focus when I am starting earlier in the day. And I actually find that my afternoons are a little bit difficult for me, so now I make enough time to maybe do something I enjoy in the afternoon, take a nap if I need to, actually just something to just let go of the day and decompress. So have a look at your daily routine and see what works best for you and try and shift it around. In that same space, if you manage a team of people, we kind of all need to be a little bit more open to people moving their routines around, to work around them. You know, some people need to work around their kids. They need to work around when their kids go to sleep, that's the only time they get to work. All of these things, it's just about being a little bit more human with each other, a little bit more understanding with each other. So that's my tips for your environment. Consider your space. What can you change in your space? What's going to make it less stressful in your space? Your people and your relationships. How can you be more open and honest with people in your relationships so that you can manage stress within your household? And then your daily routine. What can you change? What can you move around? Other thing I want to add to your daily routine is your meals. Can you pre-make meals so that you don't have to stress about dinner, or that isn't an added stress onto your thing? Can you, I've seen really cute things where people have made lunch boxes for their kids for the day. That's your snacks, so that you don't have your children coming to tell you that they're hungry throughout the day. Because I know that for quite a few people that's really stressful, because you're in meetings or you're trying to work from home, but your children are always asking you for snacks. Prep it beforehand. Here's your snacks for the day. This is what you have. Get them involved. Ask them what they'd like to have for snacks for the day. Children can actually get a lot more, they can be a lot more involved than we give them credit for. So plan around or try and change your daily routine to sort of minimize your stress. The other thing that is super important in terms of closing the stress cycle, and this is why we're here, is self-care. And again, not self-care as in grooming of pretty face masks and bath bombs, etc., but self-care to prevent further burnout. Now, if we don't look after ourselves to prevent further burnout, it could lead to severe exhaustion, depression, and even hospitalization. As your occupational therapist, my goal for my clients is to keep you out of hospital and to keep you out of the point of severe exhaustion. My goal is to help you change your daily routines and your environments and your relationships so that you do not get to the point of stress to the point of burnout. And when I talk about self-care now, let's talk about to help us in the recovery phase for self-care. Remember I spoke about the recovery phase earlier? Again, if you were running from a predator, what would you need after that? If you were in a severe state of stress, what would you need after that? So let's care for our bodies and encourage this recovery phase. And how can we do this? The first thing I want to talk about is exercise, moving our bodies. And very often people think when they think of exercise, it's like, oh, I have to go run, I have to go do a lot of movement, I have to go to a gym class, all of these things. Your body just needs you to get rid of these excess hormones, these excess stress hormones. Remember, your body is sent, when it's in a state of stress, it sends hormones and adrenaline to your big muscles so that you can run away from that perceived danger. And if we're not moving our bodies, all of that stress and tension is just stored in our bodies. Move your body. Find something that works for you. Dancing. If running works for you, that's great. If walking works for you, that's great. Cycling, all of those things is great. But if dancing works for you, that's great too. Sweeping is exercise because you're moving those big muscles. So if you're going, I'm not a fan of exercise, but I will clean my house every 2-3 days. Cool. Sweeping, dusting, all of those things. Anything that moves large muscles in your body to release that stress. Other things to help us in the recovery phase: eat well, nourish your body, look at fruits and vegetables, drink your water, rehydrate yourself. You've got to be drinking your water at this stage. It's so important for us. It's really just, remember we've spoken about water last week, where it hydrates your joints, it helps with mental clarity. I've put some other posts in my feed this week if you want to look at some other reasons that water is important. But we really need to hydrate our bodies at this moment, at this point. And then when I say nourish your body, fruits and vegetables, like whole meals, like if you, and know when you're in a state of depression, anxiety, it's very difficult to actually choose a better meal. Because if you watch my session on fatigue towards the end of last year, decision fatigue also plays into this space. Decision fatigue happens when we are so tired of making decisions throughout the day. All our decisions. Which way am I going to drive if you're driving to work now? Which way am I going to drive? How am I going to write this email? Who am I sending this email to? Who must be CC'd in this email? How do I spend this budget? You know, we're thinking about a lot of things and we're making a lot of small decisions. So when it comes to dinner or meals, what we're actually going to do is reach for what's closest, whether that be ordering something from Uber Eats or picking up a packet of chips or crisps, etc. from the cupboard, and that's what we're going to have for dinner. Or, you know, just popping a pizza or something frozen, or something that's full on processed food and not real whole foods. It's just easier for us to make that choice. So we do, but we actually really need to focus on nourishing our bodies with proper vitamins and proper food. So try and eat as much whole foods as possible. Learn, adapt, learn new skills, trigger new areas of your brain. Learning is such an interesting way for us to look after ourselves, in an interesting space of self-care. And with the internet at the moment, you could learn almost anything from almost anyone. A couple of YouTube videos if you want to learn how to plant and grow your own vegetables, you could do that. If you wanted to learn to sew, embroider, all of those things, you could do that. If you wanted to learn new dance moves, you could do that too. If you wanted to learn skills like copywriting or something that's actually going to improve your CV, you could do that also. All of these things tell your brain, I'm actually not in a stressful state because I'm learning something, accessing other parts of my brain. And that's a great level of self-care as well. Do things that make you happy. Small things, small moments of joy throughout the day will really tell your brain, I'm not in a state of stress at the moment. I can actually just recover for a little bit. Listening to music and singing along, slow music, is so helpful for our recovery phase. So even if it's just a matter of Sunday evening putting on the radio, because you know they play all those slow jams on a Sunday evening, putting on the radio and singing along to it, what that actually does, what so slow singing slows down our heart rate, it slows down our breathing rate as we try to control those notes. It doesn't matter that you can't sing, it's not about that, it's about being involved in the activity of it, so that we can slow down our breathing, slow down our heart rate, tell our brains that we are in a safe space to recover. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is our breathing. And again, slows us down and tells our brains we are not in a stressful state at the moment. We can actually recover a little bit. I'm going to take you through a breathing exercise, but then I also want to talk about why what I teach on this class or in these sessions is important. So let's look at something like deep pressure. Also something where you're nurturing your body with deep pressure exercises, where you actually adding deep pressure to those muscles, again telling your body, I am okay, I'm in a safe space. So now that I've taken you through stress, what stress does, how's everybody doing? Send me a thumbs up or something, an emoji, your favorite emoji. Are you okay there? Is all of this making sense to you? Are you ready to get into just one breathing exercise? Not going to make it long today. Teaching you one breathing exercise that is an immediate stress response breathing exercise. This breathing exercise, we're going to inhale for the count of 4, hold for the count of 8, and then exhale for the count of 7. I know that sounds harsh and it might sound a little difficult, might feel difficult in the beginning as well. But I really want you to consider what happens when people are stressed. And I see it so often when my clients come online. I do a lot of virtual online sessions with my clients. I do offer therapy. I offer virtual therapy either via WhatsApp video call or via Zoom calls. If you're interested, you can DM me and I'll chat to you about my rates. when I see a lot of my clients are coming on, I do notice that they struggle to catch their breath. They'll be talking to me with the, yeah, and then like, this is happening today. And the immediate response is we need to slow down our breathing. Because when we are anxious and our breathing is elevated to this level, our thoughts are just running consistently. We need to slow down. We need to tell our bodies, you're not in a stressful state. We need to put our bodies into the recovery phase. We need to close that stress cycle. And one of the first things you can do, which is always easy to do because you can do it absolutely anywhere, is control your breathing. And you can control your breathing whether you're sitting in a car and you're in traffic, or you're sitting in a car outside a job interview, or you're sitting at your office about to start that new Zoom meeting. Any of these things, even when you are trying to decide what to have for dinner and your children are all going, we're hungry, what's happening, or even you can't get your children to start doing the homeschooling. I just really want at this point send a massive shout out to parents who are doing homeschooling. It seems difficult. It's really difficult. You should be proud of yourselves actually for making it through 2020 already. And I hope you are giving yourselves a pat on the back for actually making it through. You made it through, your kids made it through. We can exhale and we can start pushing us into the recovery phase. Again, this is something you can teach your kids to do also, because our kids also need to get into the recovery phase. Children, you might find your children needing a lot of hugs at the moment. Again, it's that deep pressure space. Hugs are really helpful for deep pressure. It really helps close that stress cycle. And my poor husband has been getting to give me a lot of hugs lately, because I'll just actually, on really stressful moments, just walk up to him and be like, I just need a hug. Like, that's it. I just need the deep pressure feeling. Doesn't work for everybody, I must add. Deep pressure doesn't work for everybody. You need to find what works for you. If it does work for you, hugs are really great. Try it with your kids when they're overwhelmed. Instead of shouting at them that why aren't you listening, try giving them a hug. Really tight hug. Not at the point that they hurt, but a really tight hug when they are completely overwhelmed. And take a break. Let's do the breathing that I'm going to do with you at the moment. Maybe a little movement. And then we're going to start again. So let's try this breathing exercise, right? And again, something that you can do wherever you are, whenever you need to. So I want you to find a really comfortable space at the moment. So wherever you are, get really comfortable with it. You can lay down and do this. If you're laying down, uncross your legs, palms up. If you're sitting, remember I was saying you can do this anywhere. So if you're sitting, feet flat on the floor, uncross your legs, get really comfortable in the space. And I want you to take one nice deep breath and just let everything out of the lungs. Through your mouth. Another one, nice deep inhale through your nose. And really just let everything out of your lungs. Let's take a minute to consider our posture. Imagine that someone is pulling a string up, attached to your spine and your brain, and trying to pull you up as tightly as much as they could. So you get a nice straight back in posture. Again, nice deep inhale. And exhale through your mouth. Now I'm going to take you through this exercise. I want you to focus just on your breathing. Okay, you can close your eyes if you'd like, if it's necessary for you to do that. Let's just take 5 minutes for yourself right now. So nice deep breath in again. With your eyes closed and seated wherever you are, let's become aware of your breath. Focus on nothing else but your breath. Lovely. Let's take a nice deep inhale to the count of 4. So inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold it there for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth for the count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was really hard for you. That's okay. It will get better with practice. Let's try again. Inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, if that was hard, it's okay. Keep practicing. Last one. Inhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're starting to catch your breath right now. Let's do a nice deep inhale and exhale completely. And now just focus on getting back to your normal breath. Inhale and exhale, and just get back to your normal breathing rhythm. Lovely. Hopefully that worked for you, and I want you to try and remember that. You could even write that down on a little post-it and keep it near your laptop or wherever you genuinely feel your anxiety and your stress. 4, 7, 8. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. This is a stress response breathing technique. It activates the part of your nervous system that actually really tells your body, I'm not in a stressful state right now. We can be in the recovery phase. I'm not being chased by a predator. So I know I've used that example quite a bit during this session, but it actually really made sense to me that if our ancestors needed to be in the stressful state and have all of those things work when they were being chased by predators, and when they got back to their cave, etc., wherever they were, what did they need to recover? Whenever you think about that in terms of your stress, what do you need? It's so important to think about what do you need, and tell the people in your life what you need. I need 30 minutes by myself. I need to go on a drive by myself. I need a really tight hug. I need you to make dinner tonight because I can't actually even put it together in my head. I need you to put the kids to bed tonight because I just do not have the energy for it. And I think in the stressful state that we're all in at the moment, we need to be aware of our own needs. We need to be open to the needs of others and supporting ourselves, and then also supporting others. Where you can't look after others until you look after yourself. But often we need to tell other people what we need as part of looking after ourselves. Because we are not on our own. We are humans in a space together at the moment. So this is coming to the end of my session. Now it's pretty long this week, so I want to say thank you to those of you who have joined and have stayed. Thank you. If you have watched this at another stage, where I know a lot of people do, thank you for watching as well. I encourage you to share it with your friends and family who you feel might also be in a stressful state. And if you don't want to share the video, maybe tell them about, hey, Google the stress response and like the stress cycle. Like, it's super interesting to see where we are and what's happening with us as humans as well. So yeah, I'm just reading my closing statements of let's learn what we need and learn how to look after ourselves. If you've been following my space of small changes and you've been adding the small change of adding more water to your daily routine, this week's small change is that we're going to have less sugar, more fruits and vegetables. It's a challenging one, but I do it considering every meal, and every meal I just look at how is there a way for me to add more fruits and vegetables into this meal and less sugar. So I'll be doing a lot of posts on how we do that and how we can consider that. Remember, it's small changes. We're not overwhelming ourselves. Small changes that will eventually lead to bigger results. I want to thank you for joining me this morning again. If you just joined and you've missed it, I'm sorry. It will be in my IGTV in the next probably 20-30 minutes. Yeah, we just be kinder to myself because often there's more stuff to do than just post it. But I hope you take some time for recovery today in some of the tips that I've given you. Go back in this video if you need those tips again. But remember, we need to get our bodies into the recovery stage so we can prevent burnout. Have a lovely weekend and a lovely day further, and I will see you next Saturday.